Trash Boys.
On May 10th, 2008.
Trash Boys.
Trash Boy Hours.
Trash Boys.
Trash Boy. We've got Jim.
Yeah, what's up?
We've got Nate.
Nathaniel, what's up?
And Stevie. We've got Tyler in the house.
Yeah, we got our boy Tyler.
Trash Boys.
Yeah, we'll start off with a song. It's going to be Beezlebub by Beats Antique featuring Les Claypool. Just jump right into it.
Hell yeah.
I don't even remember how I found this song.
Interesting album.
I ride the greasy train. I'll implement destruction. Cause Beezlebub is my name. Beezlebub is my name. Beezlebub is my name. Beezlebub is my name. My breath, it smells of barnacles. My eyes reflect the flame. You can spell it out in Chinese. Beezlebub is my name. Beezlebub, 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 Beezlebub is mine.
That was awesome.
Fuck yeah, dude.
That's my first impression.
It's tight. I don't, like I said, I don't even remember how I stumbled on it. It just kind of popped up on, like, I listen to Spotify radio at work a lot. I'm trying to imagine which artist would have brought me to that. I listen to Clutchy Hopkins a lot, which is this really dope instrumental beat maker. He uses lots of live instrument samples and stuff. And he's a huge inspiration to me when I make my beats. And so it was possibly on a similar station to that. And I'm pretty sure Beats Antique is an instrumental project. Largely, they collaborate with a lot of different artists, so it keeps them eclectic. But I think mostly they have a Middle Eastern sound, from what I I'm trying to recollect. Like I said, I only really listen to this song, and I bump it all the fucking time because it's so dope.
I feel like you latch onto songs that you just hear something
single
really
song,
good,
yeah.
and it's just like, dude, you really feel the song, and I'm the type to, like, I hear a song and then it's just like, I want to hear more.
You gotta hear more.
And so I got to get the album, and then now I got to research them and really look into their, contextualize them.
Exactly. I'm the same way. When I hear a song for the first time that I'm really interested in, I instinctively go and I find what they're about. And I'll find like where they're from, and then if I'm really into them, I'll find who they're connected to, and I'll listen to what they listen to, and then it just kind of like goes and goes.
When somebody really grabs me, most of the time I'll investigate in the small time I have at work, because that's where I listen to most of my radio. And I'll find somebody to lead me to another radio station to listen to, and it's a web.
Yeah, no, I was thinking like you probably have a like you said, radio station, and it's like just
it plugs like similar artists,
stuff.
And I'll do the song radio, which is even cooler on Spotify.
That's right. It's kind of like Pandora.
Yeah,
in a sense,
a little more dialed in. Like if I just want a specific cosmos of sound, and it's not too often they'll link me up, but at least they'll point me in a direction.
Yeah.
I like the refrain of that song. Beezlebub is my name. It reminded me of Lord of the Flies, where the demonic spirits. I'm not sure if it's spelled in the book Beelzebub.
I think it is like the L first, but in this song it's Beezle.
Right, and I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like the devil himself or like a demon or what have you. But the song also captured that sort of strange demonic presence. It was sort of all over the place. But it had like a sort of like controlled chaos. I thought it was dope. I thought it was really really interesting. I haven't heard a song like that in a while.
Right? Yeah.
And that was very it was very organic that it had Les Claypool in it. I mean, how much influence did he have in writing the song? Do you know?
I don't.
Because I mean, I'm interested in hearing their stuff without him. Because this was very like less Claypool driven.
It was. That's why I think. I mean, they're producers at the core of what Beats Antique is. So it's their production of a multitude of artists, and so the stuff that's just them. Yeah, it sounds very rustic.
That's cool. It sounded super tight, and I would listen to a whole album of that. I didn't know I was listening to Les Claypool like ever since I was a kid, because he was, he did South Park theme song.
Right, yeah.
He did, he worked with them a lot, and it's like, man, dude, I was watching South Park since it started there, 97. So it's like, I was really digging the music back then. I didn't even know that was, and then now, like, being aware of, who he is and his style, it's such a trip to me. Like, dude, it's pretty much informed, like, a lot of, my musical taste now. Just that weird, like, he's got personality, his stuff. It's very out there, and it shows in his music. He's just so full of character.
Yeah, I guess this poses a question, like, what was the first time you guys, like, really connected with music or an artist in particular, and something that made you really want to delve deeper into understanding an artist, more than just beyond like simply like hearing a song and liking a song? Because I mean kids, like, I grew up around music when I was young and shit, but I never really like invested myself in actually understanding an artist until I was later.
The person behind the artist,
right? Exactly.
I want to say for me, I don't know how cliche it is, but Eminem. As weird as that sounds. I mean, it was middle school, and it was around the time that I was really just like in my own head a lot, and would just sit in my room, listen to music all the time, and just how he spoke, like his general his storytelling and his songs, and he introduced I mean, pretty early on in his, career. Like, he just would just reflect on his own personal life. And yeah, I think I would just, connect with him a lot through his music and his lyrics. And then I was just like, dude, I want to look into, who he is outside. And it was pretty easy, I guess, because we had internet. So
Right, yeah. You'd have to go digging through an encyclopedia or some shit like that.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think that's where it started for me, because before that it was just like surface level, like I listen to music, but it was just like, I mean, I don't know. I did actively listen like early on, but it was just strictly like on the surface. It was never like super impactful, or it's just sugar for your ears and shit.
Right.
Yeah. For me, it was probably Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl. Okay.
It was when I was, I always grew up on classic rock. And my favorite band was the Beatles for the longest time. And I had like, it took me a long time. That was just because it was an adopted taste from my dad. So it took me a long time to actually get into like my own tastes. And I really liked Linkin Park, when nu metal hit. That was huge.
Right.
And everybody was into
Same.
that shit, But then it was like, I was into filmmaking at that time, and I was like super big on like Jack Black. So I was looking up all of his endeavors, and he worked
Tenacious D.
Yeah, exactly. He worked a lot with Dave Grohl. And so it led me into Foo Fighters music, and my mom was already a pretty big fan. So I just kind of like got like swept up in the Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl's story. Of course, it's an interesting one.
Yeah,
Right.
And,
Nirvana.
yeah, and then his music videos at the time were one of the biggest draws because they're so fucking funny. They show the humor of the band. It's just that was the first thing for me. It's kind of and after that lasted me until high school, where I got into like Killswitch Engage and shit.
Nice.
Yeah. I feel like Stevie and I like went through similar paths.
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably,
like
yeah.
honestly, like when we first even started talking on on Facebook, communicating back and forth, I think that was just our main connection. It was just we listened to a lot of the same music.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I would always see you commenting on music or books and shit, so I know you had a good taste in at least modern publishings, let me put it that way. Like, you always have your ear to the ground. So I was like, well, if I've got something that I had made or wanted to talk about, this is the dude that's probably heard about it a little bit. So yeah, I'm sure we had a similar fucking taste in music growing up. That sounds about right. I didn't get into rap until like early 20s.
late bloomer.
Yeah. That was my similar trajectory too. I didn't listen to much rap music until college, like when I was a freshman. A little bit before that, but not much. But yeah, when I was younger, my first connection with music was I talked about this in the last episode as well. I got an iPod Nano, and I would just cram it with music, whatever was on iTunes. I never really gave much of a shit about that. My real musical flowering was when I got my stepdad's 500 gigabyte iPod.
Ooh.
And on that shit was everything.
Game up.
It was everything. He had such a weird eclectic taste as well. When he was younger, he was a punk, so he had just a shit ton of punk music. What he would do is he would make like playlists for me. So I would go and I would listen to the playlist that he'd play, and then I would sort of stray off when I listened to the playlist, and I listened to whatever. And what really captured my attention was Tool.
Yes.
And I was so edgy and nihilistic and depressed when I was like in middle school, especially.
Just perfect.
And it fed into all of my inner rage.
Damn.
And
yeah.
my sort of my anguish, which was sort of a lot of it imaginary, but it felt real at the time. I felt.
That's how it was for me and Eminem, dude.
Right. I felt like a misanthrope. I felt like I was totally disconnected.
I felt like I lived in a trailer park, and
Yeah.
no one understood me.
It allows you to give into these flights of fancy where you become something that you're not, or something that you imagine yourself to be, and it sort of transports you away from whatever sort of bad feelings you've had, and then that's transferred with me later in life. I've become I'm still so connected with music to this day in such a visceral way. And I also, like, when I was in middle school as well, like I would only have like a certain amount of time on the computer because I was always so attached to the computer that my parents knew to limit it. They were like, okay, we got to get this kid to do something normal for a change. And they were like, all right, I would have like 15-minute intervals where I could use the computer. They were super strict at first. They're like, all right, you can go on the computer an hour a day, 15 minutes at a time. And but when I was doing homework, I had pretty much the full reign of the computer to do whatever. So what I would do is I would listen to music while I'm doing homework, and most of it was Nirvana. I had this Slacker radio account where I would put in, I put Nirvana radio, and then I would just go through all the grunge shit, and I would like look into that. And then when I would when I would like be like, whoa, who's this? I would like pull up Wikipedia and I would Google the artist, and so I would spend like hours on end just like Wikipedia entering all these different artists. And then my stepdad comes in one time. He's like, "Yeah, you're not doing motherfucking homework in here." And I was just like, "What?" Like, I thought it just felt very natural to look into all this shit. And to this day, it's become something totally different. It's like, I'm not gonna say I have like sort of some encyclopedic knowledge of music, but I feel like I'm so like ravenously attached to certain artists at times that I just try to learn everything I can. Yeah. And then you dig deeper and deeper, and then you kind of just go down the rabbit hole, and it's hard to pull yourself out again.
Yeah, I'm totally the same way. I don't know what it is. I think it's just in every way. I just have to learn every facet of everything. Not completely analytical, although it's there. But I mean. And I've learned to kind of gauge it, but yeah, I'm the same way. Everything, I'm just like, I want to learn the history of this. What, how did they, what influenced them? Like, but I always still enjoy the music.
I'm the same way to a point, but I'm not such a completionist that I need. Like, I just want the piece that spoke to me. Yeah. Put it in my backpack. You know what I mean? Keep fucking walking. Yeah. And if I'm like, oh, this is a really shiny stone, like, I need to follow this trail a little bit. Yeah. Find these precious gems. But it's not too often that I take that time. And if it does, it's going to become, like, a big branch in my path. It's not just a little trail, It's, okay, we're veering this way now. I mean, I guess it's the same way with you guys, but it's just not as often with me. It's very
Yeah, I was gonna say, like for me, it's not even just music. It's like I said, it's everything. It's movies, like literature, right? Just anything that really resonates with me. I just gotta just learn it inside out, and to truly appreciate it. And I remember for music, well, I mean, I was in a band, so I was writing a lot of lyrics too. But I don't know, I was always when I listen to any kind of music, I was always like, dude, I got to get that booklet, the album booklet. So it's got all their lyrics on there, and I just be like really deciphering, like, dude, like, yeah. And so, and then it helped me develop as like a writer myself, which, not everybody is interested in that. So I can, see where that's not even, that doesn't register. But yeah, I remember always trying to talk to people about it, especially in my band. Like, dude, you ever just sit there and just like read their booklets and stuff? And it's just like, like, dude, there's a lot to appreciate in a booklet. I don't know. I always liked how bands, lost art form, I always liked how bands, set it up. Everything from like the lyrics, if they decided to include lyrics, to like ink use, like each individual. I don't know.
Yeah, who they reference and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something I was thinking about when we were talking about this earlier. The fact that we can have this sort of comprehensive knowledge of all these artists it's so modern. This is like part and parcel with the cult of celebrity that we were even talking about in the last episode. It's now you can have total access to an artist. You can have access to his Twitter page. Yeah, you can have access to Instagram, access
brain.
to everything. Yeah, and you could like
His
read
whole thought process.
Yeah, you could read their Wikipedia page, and then you have like a sense of like their whole trajectory from like when they were just coming out of the gates to where they are now and everything else, and it gives you a sense of a comprehension of who they are as a person. That's not always a good thing. It kind of, for some people, it can lead to a sort of mania where they obsess over people. If like they have like just, if they never move on past a certain artist and they find themselves stuck, it's kind of like a sort of intellectual desire or a sort of a cerebral desire to sort of fill our sort of the holes in our brain about what we want to know about something. Which is a very natural thing for anybody that's trying to learn. But back in the day, right, there was sort of a mystery with these artists, like groups like Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones and everything. The only way you would have any sort of reach with them, any sort of contact with them, was to see them live or to buy their physical albums and open up the booklet that serves as the album art and read through that bitch.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the only way you can have a sense of who they are. But that's done now.
Oh, yeah.
People have like people either have an extremely cursory or a sort of insane dedication to the point where they understand the whole biography of an artist start to finish. And of course, that's sort of like, that's a big duality. And of course, there's some intermediacy in between there. But I feel like that's the way it's manifest now is in one of those two cases. Of course,
Right.
less extreme or more extreme as the case may be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. This was all totally like reminding me of Almost Famous. You ever seen that movie?
It's been years since it's on my watch list. Actually,
it's based
I just
on
threw
like
it on
the story of the guy who wrote and directed it, and he talks about like when he started as a journalist, as a music journalist, and he got like Rolling Stone picked him up, but he the whole, it's like a coming of age tale, and he approaches it from when he was young to like, you know, when he gets that feels that calling, like he just loves, you know, these bands that he, you know, they're like rock stars, and then he just started like following them, and then like getting a taste of what that's like, the rock star lifestyle, and then, you know, he like his goal is to write an article on them, and it's just interesting to see that, like where that, you know, what that grows out of, or I guess how that influenced our culture is when they, you know, like these people were just making music and having fun, and then you got people like analyzing them, just sitting, you know, just hanging out with them, but like they're not really part of their group. They're just on the outside, but they're just like studying, you know.
Right. Dude, that's a weird phenomenon. Like journalism,
It's almost
music
a lost
journalism.
art form,
Yeah,
in a way.
totally. It's not going to be like that anymore. It's going to be, people are their own journalists now, like through these social media accounts, you know. That's kind of what's been lost through the gain of everybody having a voice, you know, through these platforms. They lose.
And what does it become? Like, for a long time when I was going through school, that was what I wanted to do. That's what I saw myself doing. I was sort of surprised to find, wow, there's like a whole group of people that have dedicated their careers to writing about music. And I was sort of flabbergasted by that as I sort of uncovered these different guys. And nowadays it's like you go on Pitchfork and it's just like these think pieces about artists, and it's all of it is attributing political motive to these different artists. It's politicizing these things, or it's racializing these things, or it's sexualizing these things, or
it's totally,
you know,
totally getting further and further from just talking about, you know, the music.
Yeah, it's
like
projecting
the music itself and just like the art of it.
Yeah, you're not deconstructing art anymore. We're not talking about the art of creation or the art of music. What I see a lot of is the music journalists projecting their own political agendas, their own insecurities onto the album, and
because it's easy to. It's, you know, it's made, you know, it's set up. You can just, you know, do whatever the hell you want with it, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. But there is like sort of like a hard divide between, this is sort of how it was even then, is like there's a hard divide between like journalism and also criticism. When we're talking about criticism, it's like we're really deconstructing the album to see like what it could have done versus what it did, what it presents. And the journalists are really, a lot of them just sort of cataloging sort of the goings on. It's almost like the celebrity journalists, or like they go see like a live concert, or they get backstage, they do an interview or what have you. And there's actually, you'll find that a lot of the people that are doing reviews are not the same ones that are doing the journalism, the guys that are doing the interviews. Because if I, for instance, if me, Nathaniel, writes a scathing review of like a YG album, for instance, and I give him like a 3.5 and I say it's the worst thing I've fucking heard in years, and then the same paper I'm working for sends me to cover him at a show or interview him or whatever, his publicist or his manager is going to look into me and see what I have or have not written about him.
Right.
And then they probably won't. They'll probably say, fuck this guy. No, he's not coming. Or they'll say they'll have me come along and then they'll give me shit when I get there. So it's. You'll see like a lot of like masturbatory natures of these journalists. It's people just, they're afraid, they're either getting paid to do good reviews, or they're afraid to criticize because they're worried about severing the relationship between the artist, which is what they rely upon. That they are literally a leech on the artist. They are creating criticism that is a direct result of the artist themselves. And that's a big reason why I became really disenchanted with it, is because you find that you're not creating anything. You're creating something, but it's not something that is created on its own. It's something that is so connected to something else. And that's, I mean, a lot of things are created through inspiration. Like let's not be brash about it. Like people find inspiration in many things, and that creates their own art in a way. We don't live in isolated chambers where nothing that we create is not influenced. But with music journalism, it's literally like you are connected. You are sucking on the teat of music in order to have your career. And if you give somebody the middle finger, then that's your loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really interested in like film criticism for a while. And I think it applies to that as well, right? I mean, they go hand in hand,
Absolutely.
The critics. What the critics say, that sometimes determines who's actually gonna watch your shit.
Yeah, like Roger Ebert.
There was a period in a whole chapter of my life where I was just so consumed by movies and consumed by the just what he had to say specifically. I don't know why. You can tell he loved movies. He approached it, like he truly loved them, but that's what made him so critical,
right?
And so because he was so passionate about them, and a lot of he had a good relationship with Martin Scorsese, and I don't know, I just thought that was always really interesting.
Yeah, he's a guy from a bygone era like that. That is something that I would be surprised to see that again, and maybe I'm jaded, right? Or maybe I'm sort of like saying maybe I don't want to be that guy, maybe I'm sort of like projecting my own like oh no, it's not gonna happen again. But I feel like that's something that is
I'll find
needed.
myself going. I actually just went on his site, just like old times, I just like. Well, I found I saw a movie last night. This movie I hadn't even heard of, but Leaving Las Vegas. You guys have
Never
ever
heard of
seen it? It's fucking one of Nick Cage's early roles. It's from '95, and really fucking awesome movie.
Did that get brought up on Cumtown?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
That's why. That's the only reason I even know about it. And I was just like, it just stuck with me since they talked about it, and they're talking about how or I think Nick was talking about how awesome it was. But anyway, I checked it out and I watched it, and I was like, holy crap, that was really good. And then I just found myself I don't know, man, it hadn't happened in a while, but I was just like, I want to know what Roger Ebert, because I remembered it came out when he was still alive. So I was just like, oh, he definitely wrote about this. Right. And instantly he was just like, he gave it a 4 stars out of 4. Right. And just love, 2 thumbs way up, he is loving it. Huh. And he's just, but I don't know. There is definitely an art to it, and it's definitely lost.
True.
But, you know, I try not to be bitter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's
it's
so
a
hard
new it's a
not
new
to,
age
but-
of
Yeah,
filmmaking.
I
You have to
really-
take it for what it is. Don't hold it to a standard. Just like with music, like you hold it to old standards, you are going to be fucking disappointed. I'm sorry, but
Mhm.
you have to take it for what it is. Look around, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm that way with modern music. It's so easy to like have that, you know, I have that inclination all the time to just like write it off as just, oh, this is trash. And sometimes, you know, it is objectively
Right.
bad. But I mean, at the same time, I'm like, you know, I think, well, it is a different
what it
time,
is,
you know.
yeah.
I don't understand, you know, some of these, you know, like how they grew up. But yeah, it's, you know, it's a different. Some of these, you know, rappers are just having fun, and I'm like, I can get behind that, you know. Like, I don't have to like your music, but
Yeah,
you
you
know,
don't
I
have to
can
support
get.
them. Don't have
Yeah,
to give
exactly,
them
and
money.
I'm fine with that. You know, I don't feel passionate enough to be like, you know, this, you know, this
Yeah.
new generation just doesn't, you know, because come on, man, it's so tiring.
You can't get generation gapped. It's
Right.
and that's something that you have to be aware about, especially with art. Especially our tastes do change over time, and we are a product of where we come from, and our tastes have evolved even when we were kids. Like, I don't listen to much Tool nowadays.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, you know, like you won't catch me listening to Linkin Park. I mean, like eventually, I mean,
you
like
have a
every now and
nostalgia-
then,
a
yeah, every
nostalgic
now and
day
then
every
I'll
once
get
in a
like
while,
really
but-
nostalgic, and I'm like, oh, dude, I need to revisit, you know, some of those, and then I'm like reminded, it like takes me right back
Yeah.
to those moments, and I'm like, like, you know, I feel terrible for a while. Like I'm just like, I feel like my angsty old self. You know,
Right.
Oh
just
yeah, you're seeing it through those
totally
same
just,
eyes, dude. It
like-
takes you back to your fucking 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, this shit's
Just
talking
life
to me right
sucks.
now.
Yeah, dude. I'm just like life
Yeah.
fucking sucks. Like I gotta wake up, you know, for school tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, dude. So about your whole journalism thing,
Yeah.
that was you. So I want because Stevie doesn't know any of
Sure.
like about like
Oh,
your
yeah, dude.
experience,
Tell me a little bit about that shit.
Yeah. Well,
schooling and all that.
in school, like I sort of, when you have a degree in English, there are a few paths laid out for you. One, be a high school teacher, which is the thing that I
Right.
found about 80% of my classmates were considering themselves to be doing. And then
Wow.
I mean, there's a demand for that, but
Yeah.
it's also something that I would do in the last case scenario. Two, if you're really good at what you do, you can be an English professor.
What's that,
and-
college level?
Yeah, college level.
Right.
You can find yourself at a JC, or if you're really good, you could be a four-year university. You're the best of the best. You're Ivy League. And then three, you could do journalism or editing or what have you. Right? You could go into just regular press, and that's what I wanted myself to do. I wanted to get. I want to go in education at some point, but I want to be a little bit more seasoned and to the point where I can actually consider myself to be a writer before I'm helping people write. You know what I'm saying? So what I did was I started a blog. I started a Tumblr,
Nice.
and for a long time I was dedicated to it. I was just writing at least twice weekly.
What was it about?
About rap music.
Oh, sweet.
So what I wanted to do is I wanted to apply like a really critical gaze towards rap music and sort of elevate it as an art form beyond just what rap was. And this is before I knew that there was a lot of guys that were already doing this. And there's a few writers in particular that I really like. David Drake in particular. He's still a writer that I find myself listening to a lot or reading a lot. He's really good. There's a few others that I can't name off the top of my head, but
What did they write for? Like, was it just like
they
their-
jump all over the place.
Oh,
A lot of them write for Noisy, for Pitchfork. Some of them have their own independent blogs. A lot of them started in the blogging era about 08, like 07, 08. This is back before there was a lot of established online journals. Like Vice wasn't a thing, really. It was kind of a thing, but it wasn't like a full-fledged thing. So all these guys sort of got, anybody that had any sense of talent was, sort of brought on, and now we have like these mainstream guys like Noisy, we have Vice, we have Mike, we have, everything that you could think about. And so yeah, they were doing this shit, and I ended up reading it, and it sort of fueled my desire a little bit more, and I got more and more into it, and I kept doing this. And then after a while, I just sort of got like really jaded, and part of it was rap music stopped. Rap music went in a weird direction. Like I found myself like listening to artists, and this is something that sounds hipster. Like I found myself listening to artists that then became extremely popular. Like before I was listening to them, like I listened to Migos before they became extremely popular.
Right.
And
you guys were on a Migos kick for a while.
Yeah, I listened to music like Migos back in like 2012 ish. And yeah, I was listening to them, and we listened to the really early mixtapes, and then they became incredibly fucking popular. I listened to Lil Peep back when he was when he had just a few like albums on his SoundCloud, a lot of which are now completely deleted.
Yeah.
I would interview these, like I interviewed this one guy, Squad B, who is a rapper from the Bay Area, who they never really gained like mainstream appeal, but they were connected with a lot of guys that ended up becoming extremely popular. So I was really involved in this for a while, and then I found myself like not going forward with rap and listening to new shit. I kept going back and back. And so I started listening to rap in the 90s and farther back from then. And at some point I just got so burnt out. I hit a hard wall. Like I was listening to rap in the 80s. I was listening to like Too Short and shit. And then I was like, where do I go from here? Like kind of like I found myself spinning my wheels and I couldn't really do anything. And I was like, oh, I can't make a fucking career of this.
Yeah.
Like I can't see myself doing this forever and ever. And so I sort of like I did a hard stop, and but it's something that I still have a lot of respect for, and something that I think has value. And I feel like in the same way that we were saying earlier, now people have their own voice. They can be their own critic. They don't need someone to tell them what they should or should not listen to. They of course, a lot of people, these journals are now serving as a way to share new music with people, and there are a lot of writers that are promoting music that is becoming increasingly popular. Like they're finding these guys, and then they, just by putting them on whatever website, people start, like they get like 100,000 listeners, and then through those 100,000 listeners, people start sharing it with their friends, and then it goes from 100,000 to 1 million to 10 million, and then it just flowers off.
It's viral.
Yeah, so they still have some sort of role to play, but they're not the tastemakers that they once were. And also, yeah, I've enumerated a lot of the reasons why I'm not interested in it now so much anymore. But for a while, it was something that was really exciting and something that was really interesting. Yeah.
I wanted to say, like, I'm one of those people that like totally appreciated that, because I mean I've been a big fan of I go on Sputnik Music.
Nice.
That's my I don't know, I've been stuck on that for years now. I just generally like reading about, what a general consensus on an album is like, but then they'll have individual writers, like analyze an album. But there's some writers that just grab you. Yeah. Like they know how to write well.
Yeah.
And that's it doesn't even matter what their opinion is. It's just like you just love.
Yeah, you just want to experience their thoughts, point of view. Yeah.
It's like vocalizations of their inner monologue when they listen to something. It's something that I love doing it. What I would do is I would listen to an album, and I would just like try to focus on everything. I would try to
nuance.
I would like find every nuance from the smallest detail, and I would focus on certain things in particular. And as you're writing about music, it's actually a really challenging thing in a lot of ways, because you're putting to words sounds, right? Which it sounds sort of trivial until you try it. Try describing like a rap beat. Try to write a paragraph about a rap beat. Yeah, it's and not focus on like the rap itself, right? Like don't focus too much on the way they rhyme or anything like that.
Yeah, the
right?
stuff that's like explicit.
Well, yeah, you're describing a setting.
Yeah,
very much you're like a poet.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally what it is.
You have to paint a picture.
And it's also like you have to so while you're painting a picture about what the sound is, you also have to remain critical about it.
Yeah,
You have to. It's sort
try
of
and be
Right,
objective,
yeah.
but it's hard to because music
It's
is
so
so
subjective.
subjective.
there's no chance of objectivity in this.
Right.
It's actually a paradox to even think that you could do it.
Yeah.
And that's sort of when once you throw away your attempts at objectivity, that's when it really kind of when it flowers, when the different ways that you can write and the different things that you can put in there, that's when it really kind of takes off. Once you accept that, right? And so yeah, I mean, if you guys want to read it, I haven't read it in a long ass time.
Oh, yeah, dude.
It's theartoftrap.tumblr.com. Don't put an S after trap because I don't know what you're gonna come up with there. And yeah, so yeah, the art of trap, and I've got a lot of stuff there, and also I've been published like 3 times on this website popmatters.com. Just Google my name, Nathaniel, and Pop Matters. You can find my reviews there. I have like a live review and then 2 different album reviews, so you can find my stuff there if you want to read it.
I got your shit right here. up
Yeah,
on,
there you go.
Yeah.
The Art of Trap Tumblr.
Yep, there you go. And
they would have to search your full name, right?
no, they could. I don't think there's any other Nathaniels.
In
Oh, okay.
in
on Pop Matters.
Schwass.
Yep, there you go.
There you are.
Yeah, and so there's a few different things on there, and funny enough, I reviewed one of the DJ Khaled albums, and I got quoted on a Wikipedia page
Oh,
for
wow.
That's dope.
for a DJ Khaled review. That was really weird
Is that one of your
to
friends?
see.
No, okay.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
How did you find that out? That you got quoted?
I actually just sort of like was browsing that Wikipedia entry for some reason. I can't remember why. I don't know why I was like looking up that old obscure DJ Khaled album on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was on there, and that was sort of a weird feeling, but it's it's
so
something
where
that
it says
is
like
cool.
reception, like they
Exactly.
quoted your article.
Yeah,
or your,
they quoted what I said about it.
Yeah. Review.
And I don't think I gave that too fair of a review. I think I gave it.
Yeah, I mean,
feel like I'd be
I read
embarrassed.
the review. I never really listened to the album, like not all the way through.
Yeah.
I think I heard some of the songs that you mentioned.
There was some
But-
horrible songs on that album.
I never really listened to
Yeah,
DJ
well,
Khaled
you're
except
not missing out on
what's
anything.
on the radio.
It was that was when he became like a big meme. Where he's
Yeah.
like, oh, where he would always say, oh yeah, you played yourself, you played
Yeah.
yourself. And like he was saying all this and that, and he was like doing like Snapchat and shit.
We'll make the
And-
best music.
Yeah, exactly.
All that shit.
And when he was like trying to get people on his stuff, and he had like some songs with Drake, like what he would do effectively is get a bunch of the biggest artists,
Like Lil Jon.
yeah, like Lil
Right?
Jon. And he would try to remain contemporary, and he would make pop hits. Like he did like a song with Justin Bieber and Migos and Lil Wayne and a bunch of other people, right? And it would just be these super tracks that for some reason he would get credit for because like he is like bringing
He's the
them in
biggest
the same
hype
room.
man too, though. That's
Yeah,
You want to see him lose his mind.
yeah.
on stage.
I remember seeing like a live show of him at like some like I think it was like some electronic music festival, and like he was getting booed. Because it was just like his fat ass like walking up and down the stage like doing DJ drops.
He's like doing Snapchat at the same
Yeah.
time and shit.
and
Holding his kid. Is that like mostly what he does now? I remember for a while that's all he was doing on his Instagram, which is cool, man. I'd be the same way. I mean, I don't know, maybe not. But if I was DJ Khaled, I'd be the same way.
yeah, you
If I
can't
had a
blame him,
bunch
I
of
guess.
fucking, a bunch of money and shit, and just like DJ Khaled, that's a meme right there in
Yeah,
itself. Right?
But yeah, it was just so hit or miss. Like all he was trying to do was make pop hits, and in the meanwhile, he would like just sometimes make some of the worst music you ever fucking heard. And I think I reviewed it too favorably now. I can't. I think I gave it somewhere around a 7. It should have been a lot lower. It should have been a 3. So yeah, maybe I'm guilty of the same thing that I'm critiquing others.
Yeah, I enjoyed your other reviews though, because you tackled underground, the more underground stuff, and
Yeah.
I thought that's underappreciated, or in terms of people writing about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's like a handful of blogs, but I mean, no one really like analytical, like super like the way you wrote. You really dug deep into the culture of it.
Right.
That awesome.
I was trying to be self-aware and also remain critical. I was mostly just sort of yeah, I wasn't too harsh on those guys. Like a lot of the underground guys, it's like if you're reviewing like a DJ Khaled, you can shit on him because it's DJ Khaled. He's not going to give a shit about some guy writing for popmatters.com. But for like a guy who maybe has like 20,000 followers on Twitter, if you write a review about him and tweet it at him, he's incredibly flattered. But then if he clicks the link and sees like you're dumping on him saying like this and that, like I don't want to put anybody on blast, but like I would write reviews, and every time I would write a review, I would tweet at the person and try to get them to retweet it or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Try to get some sort of gives out of it. And one guy in particular, he said he's like, oh dude, I would retweet this, but you said this about me, so either edit that or I'm not going to retweet you. And
retract it.
And I didn't.
Yeah, but what did you feel? I mean, you obviously felt like you said it for, with meaning, right? I mean, what you said, you stood behind.
Yeah, I stood behind it because it was objectively true, and it was something I compared what this rapper did to SpaceghostPurrp.
Okay.
And it sounded, and anybody who knows anything about underground rap knows that SpaceghostPurrp, despite his flaws, is a predecessor for a huge amount of this rap music that we hear today.
Right.
So it was true, and the guy, SpaceghostPurrp, was going through bad
this
shit
is where what everybody hated him, right?
Everybody hated him. He's totally blacklisted.
Yeah. Now you bring up his name, it's just like people act like that never happened.
Oh, there was a time where if you mentioned SpaceghostPurrp, you were blacklisted.
Yeah. No.
Because of
some real underground stuff right here, man.
Yeah.
Some real underground. It's a whole.
I can't say that I know the name, but I can't say I know much
about
this character.
It's funny that like with you, you started. I'm glad you started like having an interest in it. When you heard like Puya. And Ghostman.
Definitely.
Like, I posted about Ghostman and you really liked him. But yeah, when you listen to those artists, you come to find that they either associated, like it all traces back to this.
Definitely.
This artist.
I've like delved into it a little, but
yeah. We can on the next episode we can play some SpaceghostPurrp at the
we
outset.
should, I think, because it sounds like we all need to learn a little bit more about this situation.
Yeah, we could do like a whole thing on him, to be honest. Like there's so much to talk about with him from the beginning to where he is now. He's such a weird individual.
And now he's like a really big Twitter troll.
Yeah.
Like he makes accounts, different accounts all the time because he either gets like shut down or he just gets tired of an account and he'll just like pop up with a whole new one. And but I follow him because he's hysterical. He's
very funny.
Today he got retweeted by the official Walmart Twitter account.
What?
Yeah. And
About what?
It was about an artist, SZA, SZA.
Oh shit! What did he say about her?
I don't know. He was saying something about her. He compared her, or he said something about how she looks like she like shops at Walmart, or I don't know what.
And then
Walmart was like, oh, she's basically like quote tweeted it, where it's like it shows the tweet and it's like they comment on it. And it's all saying like, "Oh, SZA is like, we love her," or something like that. It was a joke. Like they ran with it, but it was just so fucking like, wow. Like people were commenting on it, like, "Wow, this is like the best timeline," because we had an underground artist
quality.
just interact with, and then like he interacted with them. And he was all basically saying, fuck y'all. He's like, fuck y'all, Walmart.
So
he's like,
I got
Target.
the tweet right here. SpaceghostPurrp at Remy Van Vuitton. Yeah.
That's one of his new username handles. Whatever.
So he says, SZA looked like a Walmart thought. And then Walmart quote tweeted saying, at SZA is a queen. Fix that for you. And that's about the end of the bants there. But fucking Walmart tried to Twitter bans fucking SpaceghostPurrp. That is so funny. That is fucking hilarious. Yeah, this is not the first time he's said shit like that. Like he really just I think he's really jaded because he put on a lot of these guys that now have huge amounts of success, but he's now like he was like for a long time selling Xanax off his Twitter and Instagram. He's like, I got bars. Yeah, like I got bars. Yeah. And it's just sad to see how the mighty have fallen, you know. It's really silly. But he's really
and that's what he ended up writing back to them.
So he wrote in reply, whatever Walmart, whatever Walmart.
Whatever
I shop at
Walmart.
Target now anyway, fam. Y'all wouldn't even let me steal Hanes boxes out of your store, so yeah, you're canceled. Hashtag shop at Target.
I don't
Damn,
know, dude.
shots fired.
Yeah. It's actually on Twitter, dude. You'll find that a lot of like big companies, they'll have people that like that are just super loose and they don't even care. I mean, that they watch what they say, but they're like, what was it? Wendy's. You ever follow that account? It's
Wendy's
like
would say some weird shit too.
Yeah, it's they'll like
they argue with people.
Yeah,
sometimes.
they'll argue with people. Get like,
well, it's because who it is a lot of these companies are like based in Silicon Valley or elsewhere, and they hire a social media manager, which is essentially just a millennial that uses Twitter too much, or they essentially their credibility is that they have a certain amount of followers or they're funny on Twitter or whatever, and that they do well on social media.
They made fun of this on Workaholics, actually.
Did they?
Yeah, they had this episode where they brought in this guy who was this super like social media clout dude. I forget, it was this dude with glasses. He played him, and he was just like he was trying to get them like to really. He was gassing them up like, oh, you could have your own your own vlog or your own YouTube series essentially, and they were just like buying into it. And
That's right.
Yeah.
And then like they get to the top of the tier and it's like bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Always. It always is.
Yeah. But,
yeah, I think that's weird that it's sort of disarming like that, like these, oh, this corporation is being so funny. It literally is, they're doing their job for them.
Yeah.
They're doing their job for them because they're trying to do like this viral marketing where it's like, if these tweets blow up like this one did, now we're thinking about Walmart and we're thinking about Wendy's, right? Now we're thinking about all these different fast food restaurants and these different stores. It's sort of trivializing these massive multi-billion-dollar corporations, and it saves them from any sort of criticism. I'm not trying to like go like, I don't think that I have any real objections to Walmart per se, say off the top of my head, but it sort of does make them seem like more accessible things than they are. Right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's part of creating an image. We've talked about it before, and like when it applies to how it applies to the individual and how it affects the individual, but when you think about it as a whole business, that's a whole other. That's a whole other game.
Absolutely.
You gotta, and you hear about businesses all the time, get a bad reputation, and it totally affects their whole everything, the whole livelihood of
Best they can
it,
do is start up a trendy fucking Wendy's Twitter account where they're trash talking customers and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Just like be in on the joke. You want to.
Exactly.
That's what you want to do. You want to like. You want to relate, because I mean that's what this new generation. I don't have any respect whatsoever.
No, dude, they want to have that in your face fucking. Oh my god, no, they
super
just
edgy.
didn't. World Star, like, who got footage of that shit?
Yeah, we have such short attention spans that we need to be constantly reminded of things, right? It's like, it's not enough that we have like billboards everywhere now. Now they need to be omnipresent on our social media. They need to be like quote tweeting SpaceghostPurrp. It's just kind of ridiculous to see how they've adapted.
We definitely gotta have a Space Ghost.
Oh yeah, we'll do the
fucking
research on the
episode.
motherfucker. We'll put Suck a Dick for 2011 on the fucking top, and yeah.
You're familiar with Lil B, right?
Lil B.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Bass God?
No, yeah, the
Bass
bass
God.
god. Yeah.
Not
He's
too
good.
familiar. Just
Okay.
just memes and
Yeah, see, that's what a lot of people are the same way. They either know him from the pack, and it's like he didn't register, back then. It's like, oh, they're like, oh, that dude, or yeah, they see him as just a meme, and it's like they don't go further into that. But yeah, he's one of those artists. I'm just bringing him up because SpaceghostPurrp is he reminds me of that, like that general
Definitely.
attitude, where it's like. They start off sort of as a meme, like that's their personality, that's what they're known for, and then and yeah, man, they have other things that they do. He makes music, he made beats for a lot of he has influence on a lot of modern sound now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we could do a whole episode on Lil
yeah, we'll
B,
play a few
SpaceghostPurrp.
songs and like I want to learn more about this dude
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely. We can sort of put something together. I think that'd be entertaining. There's a lot of crossover there.
Well, there's still a lot that I even need to learn because I listen to a lot of the artists that he influenced, but my brothers are the ones who listen to Raider Clan from way back, and they were huge on SGP and artists like that. And then they got me onto the Sesh Halawada boys, and I pretty much ran with them. And I listen to the other artists and stuff like that, but Space Ghost, I never really listened to his music. And I listen to some of it now, and it's all right, but it's I think he's
I can show you the gold.
Yeah,
There's
okay.
actually some really good songs that he has.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the Winter or something mixed.
Winter
with
is Mine.
that. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird album.
So you guys got any final thoughts?
Keep an eye out for these motherfucking corporations thinking that they're getting the Twitter fingers and trying to present themselves as if they're these trendy millennials when in actuality they're these megalomaniacs that control our consumer space, man. You got to be woke to this motherfucker.
Yeah, you do. You really do. It's entertaining. That I don't want to be super pessimistic. It's it's funny, to engage with some of this stuff. But yeah, once you really dig deep into it, it's
Yeah.
it's just another marketing scheme.
Yeah, you got to take it for what it is and either enjoy it or don't have a bad day because it's there, you know what I mean? Just kind of
I
move
really
on.
wanted to touch on the Gambino.
Oh boy,
But,
we might have to save that.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
we
it'll still
might
be
have
just
to.
as relevant next week.
Okay.
So yeah. All right, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up. Fucking
Peace.
Trash Boys.
Trash Boy Hours.
It's Trash Boy Hours. This is late at night. All the
Trash Boys.
It's nothing but trash.
That's
So-
late night trash.
I fuck with Target.